Good day, everyone. I am Jennifer Odagpin, and I'll be the first presenter in our group with the topic Initiatives to Improve Business Ethics and Reduce Corruption. So let's now proceed to the introduction part of this chapter. It is stated here that improvement of business ethics is a common concern of everybody. The word everybody here refers to all parties involved or those who must participate in improving business ethics. These are the manufacturers, sellers, consumers, government, and other relevant organizations. So the question here is, why is there a need to improve business ethics? To answer that question, it's a reality that unethical practices are always present in the corporate world. In order to reduce the risk brought by these unethical practices, all the parties mentioned earlier, as well as the stockholders, business owners, managers, and even employees, must have initiatives in ensuring that all members at all levels in their organization possesses a high standard of conduct. Accordingly, various approaches to improving business ethics have been brought forward not only in the Philippines but also around the world. Now let's discuss the Integrity Initiative campaign, which was organized in 2010 after the Philippines received grant from Siemens, a company focusing on digitalization, electrification, and automation for the process and manufacturing industry's integrity. The Makati Business Club and the European Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines serve as the Integrity Initiative Secretariat. Let's proceed to the purpose and goal of Integrity Initiative. Integrity Initiative is a multi-sectoral campaign, meaning it is a collaboration of various sectors in the society such as the business, government, judiciary, academe, youth, civil society, church, and media. Its main goal is to establish standards that promotes integrity. It also aims to diminish corruptions in the Philippines since corruption is the main reason of poverty as well as a hindrance towards development of a competitive business environment. Its ultimate goal of building trust in the government aims to create an equitable and fair market conditions. By this, the competitiveness and business confidence in the Philippines will increase, which enables to attract more investors that will help generate jobs for Filipinos. Through this initiative, it will help the country, especially in the alleviation of poverty, and a good step in fostering an ethical business environment. To achieve the above-mentioned goals, there must be consultations, roundtable discussions, and public forums with the leaders from small enterprises to large companies. We have here an Integrity Compliance Handbook. It contains key documents and toolkits which help in promoting ethical business practices. Since 2010, the MCB and ECCP has taken an active role in promoting honesty and transparency in the Philippine business. Now in present, many organizations and industry associations are following their steps towards this business movement. By their active participation, it creates a hope in minimizing the issue on graft and corruption in the Philippines. Corporate values are the set of guiding principles and fundamental beliefs that help a group of people function together as a team and work toward a common business goal. Therefore, the values and ethics of the organization need to be explicitly managed to protect the reputation of the organization. Need for a code of conduct. A code of conduct should guide directors and senior executives in maintaining integrity. Next is to promote responsibility and accountability in locating unethical practices. And lastly, to ensure compliance with legal and other obligations to legitimate stakeholders.
So, good morning, everyone. I'm Jasmine A. Kapwa, and I am going to report the Unified Code of Conduct for Business. So, let's look at the key commitments in the code. So, these are the different part of every department in creating the initiative for integrity to minimize corruption and to improve their business ethics. Pumunta tayo sa top management. So, top management. Our top management leads by example by consistently demonstrating the value of conducting business with integrity. So, si top management, dito sa top management, napag-usapan naman natin ito no, in the first chapters of the book na sila yung dedicated to do the corporate policies or the code of conduct. So, sila yung naka-assign sa blueprint or sa paggawa ng policies or code of conduct na dapat sundin sa company. So, since sila yung gumawa, dapat sila mismo, they have to walk the talk, kumbaga. So, dapat maging epitome or maging example sila ng kanilang code of conduct na ginawa. Hindi porket na gumawa sila noon or sila yung gumawa is excuse na sila sa rules and regulation na ginawa nila. So next is human resources. Trabaho naman ng HR, di ba? Usually during an orientation, so sinasabi nila lahat ang code of conduct, yung policies and yung rules and regulations na dapat sundin. So dapat doon pa lang is na-instill na nila ito sa mga employees. And then they can conduct every monthly ba or every period to check and monitor its employees if nasusunod pa ba. And then, example nga sa ibang mga companies, parang may mga hotline yan sila. Pwede kang mag-report doon anonymously, either email or call, or you can just directly report to the website. So, doon yon para sa mga whistleblower na natatakot mag-report within their own business unit. Sales and marketing. So, we clearly communicate rules and guidelines on giving gifts, entertainment, tokens of hospitality. Actually, it's very common no, na nagbibigay yung sales and marketing department sa kanilang mga existing and prospective clients and customers. So, that's okay, that's fine. Ang dapat lang nating tandaan is dapat hindi siya lavish. Hindi lavish ang expenses na i-incur mo when you are dealing with your clients and customers, prospective man yan or existing. So, example, sa isang company, so meron kang prospective client, then you want that client so much. And then, syempre, kailangan naman, like, kapag nag-meeting kayo or nag-present ka ng ideas mo, is meron kang pa-cafe or pa-dinner man lang. So, that's okay. Inaalaw yan ng isang company. So, pwede mong ma-reimburse yan. So, pero, dapat within the maximum lang. So, merong limitation na siniset ng isang company. So, for example, yung limitation or na-select ng company is, ang maximum is 5,000 pesos lang. So, kapag yung si manager ng taga-sales and marketing department, nagpa-reimburse siya, and then nag-exceed siya doon sa 5,000 pesos, hindi na yon i-reimburse ni company. Personal expense na iyon ng manager. So, ang i-reimburse lang ng company is up to the limitation lang, up to 5,000 pesos. Naman tayo sa finance and accounting. So, finance and accounting, alam naman natin no na dapat true and correct yung financial statements na ginagawa as an accountant. So, kapag ikaw ay naging isang accountant, you should see to it no na true and correct yung financial statement. And then dapat sumusunod siya sa accounting standards like PFRS or IFRS, and then also sa taxes. So, dito naman tayo sa procurement. So, procurement, so para itong ito yung department ng accounts payable. Sila yung naka-assign to transact with the existing and prospective vendors and suppliers naman. Kung ang sales and marketing department is clients and customers, itong procurement team naman is sa vendors and suppliers naman sila. So, dito, dapat is mayroong transparency. If kung sa government pa, parang yung sa bidding, dapat transparent, dapat sinusunod yung correct procedures on how to onboard or enroll a new vendor or supplier. Hindi pwede na porque kamag-anak ng manager or ng isang director yung isang businessman or isang company is sila na iyong kukunin na supplier or vendor over the other vendors and suppliers. So, hindi pwede yun. So, dapat maging transparent, dapat dumaan sa tamang proseso. Then we have logistics. In logistics, we comply with laws and regulations pertaining to supply chain management. In order for them to observe integrity, they do not tolerate any breaches in existing laws in exchange for undue advantage and unethical concession of favors. They pay correct duties and taxes based on transparent assessment of goods and services. So if ever na si employees will refuse to pay bribes or facilitation payments, they will not be penalized, even if it results in failure to meet deadlines or loss of revenue. The last one is implementation and monitoring. In implementation and monitoring, we will continuously strive to align our operations to the principles contained in the code and periodically assess and monitor our compliance to it. So, syempre, dito sa implementation and monitoring, hindi lang naman tayo hanggang sa draft lang or hanggang sa blueprint lang. So, we have to implement and constantly monitor it and review it if effective ba yung mga ginawa nating mga initiatives to reduce corruption and to improve our business ethics. So, that's all the key commitments in the code.
Code of Ethics for the Philippine Business was issued by the Bishops Businessmen's Conference, Philippines, which is reproduced for the continuing of applicability, relevance, and significance to entities engaged in business in the Philippines. To further learn about Code of Ethics, allow me to discuss to you an overview of this code. The Code of Ethics has been formulated and impelled by the belief that man has a dignity that must be respected and that all the resources of the earth has been created for his growth and development. It is considered as a major step in the ongoing and changing process of understanding the growing role of business activity in the development of man and therefore is open to further improvement. It seeks to express systematically and coherently the principles of business practices accepted and professed by Philippines business and seeks to apply this to current and changing needs. This code will serve as a general stimulus to renew and develop or amend existing standards and that individual entities will expand and adapt it to the specific needs of their own organizations. This code is intended to be influential rather than coercive. It is hoped that each entities will consciously adopt and embrace the code as a statement of principles and having done so, will be unwilling to incur the sanction of adverse public opinion through failure to live up to the code. Lastly, Code of Ethics is perceived as for all people, formulated on the grounds that the manager must be strategist for human development and the business is to build an enterprise oriented to the development of a man. Business embraces commerce and industry. It is not an accidental human activity but an integral element of the social order. Business has the primary purpose to provide goods and services as efficiently as possible in order to meet the society's needs. Thus, those engaged in business should therefore recognize the basic concept. First, business is an expression of human relationships, in which it is not just a relationship with those who work in the enterprise, but as well as those who own and provide financial resources. It is also a relationship with their suppliers, the customers, with the government, and with the wider public who's affected by the business activity. Take note that the interest of the members of society must be taken into account in formulating business policy, which at times will conflict. However, while the conflict and tension can be themselves being constructive, the aim of business must always be to reconcile opposing interests in a balance of justice and mutual concern. Furthermore, a proper worth of contribution is entitled to those who contribute to the performance of the business. These people are the owners, management, the workforce, the suppliers, and subcontractors, the customers, and government. In business, there are three different resources that it employs, namely financial, technological, and human. Among these resources, the human resources have a unique quality and should be employed in a manner consistent with personal dignity. Thus, individual should be given opportunity to use and develop his faculties in work. Then his contribution to the success of the enterprise should be properly recognized and compensated. Business enterprise has the public responsibility to use all its resources efficiently. The profit in a business is recognized as a fundamental incentive and necessary for the maintenance and growth of enterprise. Furthermore, profit is necessary for raising the quality of life and for helping meet the broader needs of society. Competition and incentives inside the business are essential for the maintenance and continuing improvement of the quality of goods and services for the growth and technological progress. However, take note that unfair forms of competition may arise from this situation. Hence, in order to guard against this kind of event, a consistent standard of business behavior must be established and observed. Lastly, any right or authority enjoyed or entrusted to business presupposes and is justified by corresponding duties, responsibilities, and performance. Next to discuss is the principles for the conduct of business. The responsible for business policy should not consider only the interest of the owners of the business, but also the interest of those affected by the activities of the business. The business should also consider the interest of the employees, in which the business shall recognize the unique position of employees as individuals with vital stake in their work and at the same time with inherent obligations to their own families and provide first, for recognition that wages and salary policy should be based on the right of the employees to a fair and improving standard of living irrespective of race, sex, age, and creed. Second, for fair recruitment practice that affords equal opportunity to all qualified job seekers. Third, for job security, adequate compensation for employees in cases of separation and retirement and opportunities for fringe benefits. Fourth, for safe and healthy atmosphere in the work favorable to the physical and moral well-being and growth of the employees. Fifth, for conditions in which human potentials and relationships can be developed at all levels of workforce, with a view to providing therein a sense of purpose and achievement. And finally, for participative elements so that the knowledge, experience, and creativity of all who work in the enterprise may contribute to the decision-making process. Then the business should also consider the interest of the customers. In marketing arrangement, business shall driver the product or service in the quality, quantity, and time agreed upon, and at the reasonable price, and avoid the creation of artificial shortages, prices manipulation, and like practices. Establish an after-sales and complaints service commensurate with the kind of product or service supplied and the price paid. Ensure that all mass media, promotional and packaging communications to be informative and true, and take into account the precepts of morality and the sound cultural values of the community and manifest human dignity. The business should also consider the interest of the suppliers, in which the business shall ensure that the terms of all contracts be clearly stated and unambiguous and honored in full unless terminated or modified by mutual consent. Abuse of economic power in dealing with a smaller concern be avoided. Terms of payment be strictly and fully observed, where payments should be made promptly at the agreed time if no specific time is agreed upon. Then no supplier be encouraged to commit his resources for apparently long-term purposes unless there are reasonable guarantees that the orders received from the business will not be terminated. The business should also consider the interest of the owners and other providers of capital. Business shall provide an adequate rate of return and ensure the security of their investment. use financial resources to provide goods and services responsibly and efficiently, furnish the owners and the providers with such information as they may reasonably require, provided that it does not adversely affect the security or efficiency of the business. Pursue specific objectives of the owners and other providers of capital provided that these do not contrary to any of the principles stated herein. The business should also consider the interest of the local and national government, where it is the duty of the business to participate in the discussion of proposed legislation and/or its implementation affecting the sectoral, regional, national, and international interests. Propose sound policies in the use of human and material resources. Then the business should also consider the interest of the society in general. Businessmen shall take regular response to the needs of the society and ensure that those needs are taken into account. Ensure that the way they deploy their resources benefits society in general. Pay proper regard to the environmental and social consequences of business activity. Make such contributions as their resources will allow, and consider the human and social costs of mechanization and technology. Establish policy allowing employees to contribute to the public and community services. Establish policy regarding conflict of interest and not to tolerate any form of illegal data gathering or inducement. Next is the survey of laws advocating business ethics. RA 7394, the Consumer Act of the Philippines, which is approved on April 13, 1992, states that to protect the interests of the consumer, promote his general welfare, and establish standards of conduct for business and industry. Its objectives is to protect against hazards to health and safety. Then the protection against deceptive, unfair, and unconscionable sales acts and policies. Then provision of info and education to facilitate sound choice and proper exercise of rights by the consumer. Provision of adequate rights and means of redress. Involvement of consumer representativeness in formulation of social and economic policies. Next law is the RA 3720, the Food, Drug, and Cosmetics, which is approved on June 22, 1963, which aims to ensure safe and good quality of food, drug, and cosmetic, and to regulate the production, sale, and traffic of the same to protect the health of the people. Lastly, RA 8293, the Intellectual Property Code of the Philippines. The intellectual property rights law covers number 1, copyright and related rights, then trademarks and service marks, geographic indications, industrial designs, patents, layout designs, topographic of integrated circuits, and lastly, protection of under. Then next, we will discuss the government initiatives to curb corruption. Duterte to DOJ probe all corrupt acts in government. Philippine Inquirer on October 28, 2020. The reporter is Leila B. Salaveria. President Duterte directed the Department of Justice to launch a sweeping investigation into graft across all government agencies and to put focus on the Department of Public Works and Highways. The President ordered Justice Secretary Menardo Guerra to protect and file charges against people involved in irregularities, whether from public or private sector.
The news headline is Graft-ridden agencies face deep budget cuts. Source from Philippine Inquirer on October 30, 2020 by Nestor Corrales. In order to ensure that the appropriations or the national budget is being used properly and not in corruption, Axis Representative Ericia presented that they will take the lead in investigating some suspicious government agencies. The suspected government agencies against with graft and corruption are DPWH, BIR, Bureau of Customs, Land Registration Authority, and PhilHealth. The suspects were subjected to budget cuts while the investigation is going on to protect the money from losing.
Sporadic decrease, it contains two different articles. So the first article is about the pork barrel scam. So ito yung case nila Janet Lim Napoles with former Cagayan de Oro Representative Constantino Haraula and several former governments. So Napoles was alleged of the mastermind of the 10 billion scam and she found guilty of plunder in 2018. Then may mga senators din that time na nadawit like Bong Revilla Jr., Jingo Estrada, and Anton C. Enrile. The second article is about kay Lieutenant General Jacinto Ligot. So ang case niya is about sa 102 million pesos worth of properties which he declares unlawfully acquired. So Ligot and four other family members were ordered to hand over condominium units, houses in California, paid up shares, and several other real estate assets after they failed to dispute evidences that the assets acquired between 2001 and 2004 were disproportionate to the general's lawful income. Guilty rulings in the two cases are rare and thus welcome sporadic victories. So in the seemingly mismatched battle against government corruption, so the both cases were filed under previous administrations also says a lot about how long and circuitous the road to justice is and how government zeal has limped along and even hijacked for political ends in recent years. So, grabe talaga, no? Grabe talaga katagal yung process before mo ma-achieve yung justice dito sa Philippines. So, aabot ng mga years, mga ilang taon. Then, some cases is wala na, ma-close na lang siya since matagal na ito. So, corruption are rampant and inevitable in every nations and that serves as a number one problem in government or state. So, because even though we have a good leader that governs the country, yet his subordinates or local officials are making advantage with their positions for their own benefits, all the hardships and perseverance by our leader will be useless because of the people who are not deserving with the position and not utilizing their roles and responsibilities for the welfare of the public. So, it's the same for the companies, no? Even if okay yung leader, but the subordinates ay hindi ginagawa yung tama or kung ano ang dapat na gawin, it is useless pa rin. So, it is a collective teamwork. Hindi pwedeng isa lang or yung yung senior management lang yung nagtatrabaho towards the goal of the company to achieve good corporate governance and business ethics. So it's a collective effort of everybody. And what's highlighted in this chapter is the initiative to improve the business ethics and reduce. Because palagi naman nating sinasabi, diba, we cannot totally eliminate corruption. We can just alleviate or minimize it at the least. So yun lang. Hope na may natutunan kayo. So that's all for my report.